Hey gentlemen, Francis, the market sniper. I did this Bitcoin update, and I'm going to do a little bit of Ethereum for you today. So great response from everyone here. A lot of the guys that came over from the cryptos channel. So big shout out and thanks to him. That's Omar. Quite a bit of requests for Ether on this chart, and thank you to all of you that were just giving me the little heads up in the education front there on the fib tool location in the pitchfork box. I wondered if it might be there. So I'm seeing all these comments. There's Nick asking about Ether. There was a few others asking about Ether, and many of you coming back at me on the fib tool. A couple of comments also about I can't help with these kind of things, guys. So just in terms of questions, Joseph here, what's the best way for Australians to invest in cryptos? I am a citizen of the world. I think I go by South African stroke English dad, French mum type, living in UK. I can't tell you about the Australian markets, and I do recognize that Coinbase and some of these exchanges behave very differently in different countries. So I have someone who I'm supporting who's with me, but who has via Germany, and her Coinbase is doing something totally different to what mine does. Some don't allow certain exchanges. I'm not equipped to answer, so I'm not going to answer because I'll just mislead you. But what does happen is somebody else might take up your query and have better information than me. So I'm not here as the master of all things. And they may be very well informed. So more requests for Ether there. And I've got some news for you on that. So I will be covering Ether for you now. Let's get straight on with it. So you may recall, and in fact here's the header shot, that I warned that this is not particularly strong rebound, and that there's what we call a grind line. Now, by the way, guys, I do a lot of videos for my premium guys, chaps, and they pay me for this. So this is going to be an open, general, free one again. But you've missed a few trades, you've missed a few things that we've been doing, and those have to go unlisted to people that are on my programs and courses specifically for crypto trading. So I make it aware. I can't. You may have to wait till I have bandwidth and time, and I am away in New York on a crypto conference, having just done that, and then I added on a few extra days. I'll do what I can, but be patient. We warned you that this Bitcoin here would have a potential bit of a top out. So let's have a little look at Bitcoin generally, and we're using TradingView. Now, since that, you can see how this chart has evolved. This is Bitcoin Euro, by the way, and this would have been the grind line at the same time on the Euro. So this is all about the Bitcoin DNA, not the fiat currencies, who are far less volatile, relatively speaking, than the cryptos. So you would have seen I'd drawn the same grind line, and you can learn what a grind line is and how we use them, and said this would be broken. And we've now gone into what is a rounded top with kind of descending, retreated buying here, which is accelerated. You see these hammers. There are people that have been buying, but this is quite rounded. Technically speaking, we call this a rounded top. This is Bitcoin Euro. It's not the Bitcoin dollar, but they're very similar. So just for accuracy's sake, I'm going to bring up the Bitcoin dollar. The other comment I'd make on all of this is that you should compare your cryptos against other cryptos. We should be expecting, generally, in most instances, except in exceptional instances when maybe cryptos have done too much, that we are beating the national fiat over-indebted government-issued paper of disrepute. So you should be expecting to beat that. It's kind of like the senior boys playing against the 5-year-olds in football. We know what's crap, and we know what's potentially the new fresh pony to take over from a very tired monetary system. That's my fundamental take. Let's show you that chart again. You can see what I was talking about. So if you just go back to the vid that I got a lot of response and likes out of. The warning here was that the grind line would break. You had your rising wedge with a collapse, you had your falling wedge with a bounce out. You should get your return move pushed down, and then what happens next will be interesting. And what's happened next has been your return move, marginally higher high. This is bearish. You'll learn about that if you do a program with me about why we talk about that being bearish. That said, it doesn't necessarily have to capitulate like a beast here. It just means Bitcoin's not being particularly strong given what it's done prior against fiat, the dollar in particular. So if you just need a reminder, I always talk about going from macro to micro. That is your curve, your hyperbolic curve, in terms of Bitcoin's ascendancy against fiat. So relatively speaking, it's been magnificent, but in terms of where it is now, you could quite easily see a potential pullback of some scale coming down here, and it not yet meaning the end of this marvelous run. And we can then break up higher, but that could shake a lot of people out and get a lot of people doubting if we were to revisit these 1600 levels. So you can see a lot of scrolls here from my previous work on shorter time frames. But so just bear that in mind. If we're going back to that 30-minute stroke 45-minute view, I'm not saying it has to collapse, but I would say there's a slightly higher probability than is usual. Slightly higher. That doesn't mean more likely than not. It doesn't mean it has to happen. So remember this, when we talk about trading in markets and technical analysis, we're trying to establish probabilities of outcome in an uncertain game. So I know nothing relative to you. I'm just slightly more experienced as a trader in terms of probabilities on price behavior, what's more likely to occur. That gives me an edge, but it doesn't give me clairvoyance. So I make that differentiation so that I don't seek any form of guru status here. Occasionally we'll get things right that look like no one could have called them, but it's only because of the methodology. And it's something you can learn, and it's an entirely transferable skill. And I'm doing it for a lot of people who are implementing it very successfully for themselves. So what could happen on the bullish side is that I'm just drawing some lines here to show you kind of how we annotate, is that this turns into what's kind of like a little bit of a bull flag price reaction, and we get a breakout through this. So it doesn't have to be bearish. And by maintaining a non-committed mind, the game is not marrying your views. Marry your wives, marry your girlfriends. They're already, if they're your wives, you've already married them. But don't marry your views. Keep an open mind always, and always be scenario casting. If you're feeling that you're believing something too strongly, mentally you actually are overcommitting in your mind, and you can't visualize yourself being wrong. You're actually in a bit of a punch-drunk state. So I want to just say, always draw a scenario on a chart that completely undermines your current predominant view, especially if you're deeply sold on it. This is about mental neutrality. So here's a scenario case for why the Bitcoin could go up against the US dollar. But this was a steep sell-off, and so far we've really only had about we might have just done a 61.8. Let's see if my Pitchfork friends, who so kindly told me where I should be going for our fibs, there we go. Let's do the fib retracement so that we can get literate here with the tools. Yes, Ethereum is coming, chaps, so I will do this. I'm doing it also upside down, so this is the first time I'm using this tool. So I think I should have done it the other way around, so that the red is near the bottom, I'm guessing. So this is quite a nice tool. I'm quite impressed with tradingview.com, guys. So if you're wondering where I'm at, I'm got tradingview.com. It seems to have some pretty awesome tools, and I'm still finding my way around them. As a technical analyst, I've implemented my technical analysis in other areas. So this is captured between the 38.2 and the 50% fib. This is quite interesting because you essentially can see support coming at the 50% there, the hammers on the way down, the hammers on the way down. You then break a 50% with great momentum, touching the 23.6, running back just through. We talk about in the HVF trading metamorphosis program how key levels of significance are always just run. So you just run that 50%, you pull back, you just run it again, then you smash down, you run the 23.6, you rally, and then you smash through it. And then you can see the 50 just run there, just run here, and then serving as short-term resistance. We could be winding up in what is like a bull flag range because it's gone quite low vol and we're ready to put a new up leg, and that's quite feasible potential scenario. So I talk about scenario casting. I do this intentionally because forecasting means you've married a view. That's your forecast. That means I'm trying to be right and I will either be proven right or wrong, and those are very egocentric words. A scenario cast just means one of many possible outcomes that you're contemplating. And there's less ego in that, there's a better mentality, and you remaining open of mind so that you can flip if you get new price behavior that actually points to something else that's about to happen. What tends to happen is if you commit to a view and you start to get price behavior that's undermining that view, you suppress and you find justification. So human beings are not rational, we're rationalizing. So once we marry something, we find the facts to support that view. Important point. Anyway, so that's Bitcoin. And that's a scenario for both upside, and I've also told you that that 50% rally is not particularly strong and convincing, and that we could also have a roll and a spill through here. Both remain open. This is not a high probability situation for a trade in either direction. So let's talk Ether, because I know you guys are fanboys, and I am too, by the way, so I don't mean anything derogatory in using that term. And I've done rather well with it. And I'm going to show you some Ethereum charts. So first of all, you're going to be confused by some of what I'm going to do because it's specific to people that know a little bit about my methodology. So you're only going to get a flyby view, but you know, you'll get something out of this in some ways. So here's continuation in work. So these are little continuation patterns. Note how if we'd used leverage, this would have been the safest part of the trade. Really violent and up. That's a little HVF. I've just drawn it like a little triangle for quick annotation. And note how you get a pullback post a target run. Because we're in a highly expansive market though, it continued in a less steep manner, then went into a mild pullback, which is what's known as a bull flag for those of you that are not familiar with technical analysis, and then went another full leg higher, which would have been the same as the leg from here to there. So you get natural geometry and targets. Once that was run, it pulled back. We noted, and we spoke about this in our base camp, our private area, where we trade and take this, that this was bearish, and it was low slung and was probably going to sell off first, which it did. Where did we expect it to support? On the top of the previous resistance of the last major continuation pattern, which is exactly what it did. Note the key levels of significance, just run. So here you go, you get a rebound, and we got an HVF set up there. This is a very small micro HVF within this bigger first impulse. So there's your high one, there's your low point one, and then you got a high two, low two, high three, low three, and we expected a pop there and we got it. But note how it overran. Why? Because it's that little setup is all part of a larger setup. In short, in terms of Ethereum versus Bitcoin, we had the geometry, which comes from the high one and the low one. You see that projected from our line of truth, which is the midpoint between the high three and the low three. There's so much to the strategy that, guys, this is such a bad quick flyby. So there's a natural geometry to price patterns, and you must have a point in which you take money off the table, and that's why we have targets. But in an expanding market like this, like cryptos, my view is you should actually be a sitting investor without leverage for your safety. The game is to stay in the game. The market caps on these things are going to expand immensely in my view, and that's a fundamental view, not a technical view, because we're replacing flawed fiat currencies. Anyway, so for me, we've actually run the target, and pullbacks are possible now for Ethereum, and that's exactly what's happened. You see the selling wicks over here? You smashed through the target and the round numbers. We're now 10% of a Bitcoin, through 10% of a Bitcoin, had you taken the trade here. And I'm going to show you a top-up trade we took now, and I'm going to also show you another aspect as to how you should be very aware of the different exchanges and the charts in terms of trading. So I've got Bittrex, Kraken, Poloniex, all as places where I can trade Ethereum and Bitcoin, and I have money in all three of those areas. So I'm going to show you a few practical aspects that went down with me. I'm away, and so I've not been excessively active, and I don't think that's a bad thing, but I felt like topping up on Ethereum after this last move, and I'd recognized we'd just made the smaller version of the target, and I felt we would be due a pullback. So on Ethereum, Bitcoin, I felt we were due a pullback. So what I did, and I'm going to show you screenshots rather than the full shots of my account on Poloniex. That's Bittrex. On Poloniex, you may recognize that, those of you who had it. I put a pending order, a buy limit. So this was a buy limit put on Poloniex. So we are the 30th of May. I'm on US time. We're not yet midnight. It's 23:22. It's the 30th of May, and it was roughly 24 hours ago. In fact, it was just past midnight, so it was just the beginning of today, and now we're at the end of today. I put a buy limit on at 0.85. The market had already traded through that, so let me just show you that chart again. That was today, all part of today, and we were here. And I felt we were due a pullback. We were up there. Now I did a bit of analysis, and I concluded that we should make a potential pullback to the 0.85. So I'll just show you this with our chart. Let's show you it on a chart level. That's where I felt we'd pull back. So while we were sitting there, it was quite fortunate, but it also helps to be a good technician because you tend to make your luck. So yes, I was lucky, but yet you get to be lucky because you don't chase the market and be a buy at market over there. So the nice view is I got to have a run of about, well, through 12.5, maybe even up to 15, going on 17%, by virtue of being filled at 0.85, which is what you see here on the Poloniex. And that was done today, 30th, at just 3 o'clock. So we were on the road driving back from Newport to New York, and I'll be flying back to the UK tomorrow, and that got filled while I was in a car, not watching the screens, having chats, enjoying my drive through some lovely countryside. Why? Because I'm a bit lucky, and because we did our technical analysis and we don't chase markets. Now the value of that is you get a fill at 85 and then you trade at 11, but you're still at around 10.5, give or take. So that's the better part of 0.2 on an 0.85, 20 over an 85. So that's about a over 20%, somewhere around 22% odd gain on the day by making an entry that mattered. And I got filled on a wick. So I annotated this for you on a chart, 0.85. Now, while that all makes me look all grand and glorious and absolutely brilliant, I did a similar on another exchange. And the interesting part is this was Bittrex, and I charted it on Bittrex, and the chart is different. Ethereum Bitcoin on Bittrex doesn't have the exact same numbers. In fact, as many of you are probably aware, I'm not telling you anything new, but I am reminding you of this natural effect that this has on your levels. So if we open a trading view again and we do a Bittrex, while we do this, I will also show you in fact, I don't think they give you a Bittrex. They give you Bitfinex, but I don't think it's the same thing. TC, I don't think it's the same, guys. Anyway, the chart I'm going to show you is that, in fact, on that platform, Bitfinex, I put in a bid at 0.87. Note that that's a higher level than the 0.85, and it didn't get filled. So this screenshot was taken today. Wanted to sell out of my Bitcoin for Ethereum, a limit buy. Sorry, pal, it's still, order's still sitting there, and I missed that boat. Still sitting with just under 6 Bitcoin in that account, and no trade fulfilled. So I didn't nail that one. And on the one hand, I've been filled at 8.5. So let's just show you that again. On the one hand, I've been filled at 8.51 and got 93 ethers for a total of 7.925 bitcoins, and on a higher level on a different exchange I've not been filled. So key point for everyone, you've got to chart, and I did do this, but I just was I was lucky on one and slightly unlucky on the other. This never traded. Bitfinex never traded at 0.87 while Poly did. Simple as that. That's why when you do your Ether Bitcoins, look at the exchange. Note how many different options you get. And this is a little educational for you all. And if you're trading technically, make sure you take the chart of the exchange from which you are trading. If you're trading a Kraken or a Polynex, get the Ether Bitcoin chart and the values from that one. So because I have a Poly, I can have a look at it, and I know that I got filled on the 8.5, and that's the chart you see. Now the interesting point on this is that we've run the target, and what tends to happen on the target run is you get progress decay. In other words, that means you pull back. However, if it's a highly expansive market, it might just pull back shortly. It may pull back more. It may pull back shortly before popping again. Now, just for those of you that think, oh, it's crap, it's pulling back, this is actually a little bit of a falling wedge and a bit of a rounding bottom, and it does look like it's not anything too frightening. Note how you get the target run, little pullback, and then you have that final exhaustive move. And now you're having this. This is not scary yet. It could, if it suddenly turned capitulative and down, become scary, but at the moment it's not looking like it. It's tactful retreat after a bit of melt up where you ran 11 key level, and could even be a falling wedge. So if I make that a 5-minute chart, I don't want to get too micro about my technical analysis, but essentially you're getting a squeeze, and this is rounded bottoms. So you could have another move. If that another move is very weak and then peters out, you could go into a bigger swell. If it's fairly abrupt and sharp and comes up to here and then winds down, you could get another triangle stroke potential HVF setup. HVF stands for Hunt Volatility Funnel, by the way. So we're trading the squeeze of the volatility. We don't call them triangles. It's got nothing to do with two competing trends. It's everything to do with a volatility squeeze. So I differ entirely with traditional technical analysis on a number of things, and I have my own definitions for things that work, built out of 26 years of experience. So that's low rounded bottom, gives you a nice leg up. You could squeeze again, and then what will happen is you get another push up. Or it could fizzle quite slowly and take a long time, sell off really hard, and we could get the first downside set up in a new trend. But at the moment, this is looking pretty chipper. No great fears, but it has calmed down having run the target. So for the Ethereum fans, you've had a good run, and it's actually not looking too bad for a progress decay moment. It's not decaying a great deal, and it's actually looking like it's rounding bottom. What else was I going to show you in those screenshots that I took? By the way, I'm on the ATR mic now. I've got it plugged in, so I'm hoping those that were a little disappointed with the audio are happier. Let's see. Oh, the other thing I did is I also was sitting with some euros. I went into fiat, believe it or not, because I was a bit concerned about cryptos as a whole, as a category. I was also fortunate, so on the Kraken account, which I have, I put in a buy for euros, and and I ended up buying 165 Ether there. And it was done at the order level I wanted was 179. So we were at, whoops, wrong chart. We were at, let's get it up here. This is where we were that night, and I didn't want to chase the market, and I felt we would have a pullback through 180. That did occur, and I had an order on the running of 180 at 179.9. Once again, very fortunate and had a exceedingly good fill. Once again, it's not trading at market and showing patience and using traditional technical analysis. We ended up getting a nice period of spinning top and squeeze, all just hanging and just running the 180 key psychological level. So we picked up on quite a reasonable sum, about 30,000 euro, a move from 180 to 200, which I'm sure most of you will appreciate is just through 10, 11 or 12 odd percent. It's 20 over 18 is 1/9. So it's about 12%. In a day while you're driving your car, it's not a bad day's work. The key aspect is recognizing that we still expect this to be a long, but we're looking for the key psychological round level that could be run, for which the next move up could occur. By the way, this is, you can have a look at the Ethereum. See, we're popping up there. Can you guys see that? That's why I was saying this is fairly chipper markets, rounded bottom and popping up. I wanted to show you these accounts. So I'm not sure if the Poly is still open. The Kraken, yeah, the Kraken's logs you out like every 3 minutes. It's such a pain in the ass. So I wanted to show you that actual order, and I hadn't had time to take a screenshot of it, and we were filled at 179. You're going to have to take it from me. I can post it on a future clip, but anything I claim has materialized. So that was a good fill and a good entry, and it was about 10%. The superior entry was in fact the one I have shown you, which was, I took a picture of the screen. Yeah, it was valued at 200, and we got, it doesn't say how much, 165 divided by 37,000 euro, you'll see, will come out to 179 on there. I didn't take an order shot, and I've been logged out. But the point is, don't chase. So what are the lessons in this? It's a bit of a rambling long clip, and I apologize for this, but a lot of comments and a lot of you guys wanting me to have a look at Ethereum, and there's other lessons in here. Trade the chart. So a couple of takeaway points. Trade the chart and the technical levels aligned to the exchange for which your money is in. So if you have Poly, trade Poly. But if you also have Bittrex or any of the others, make sure you look at the other charts, because the values are different for your technical levels and your key points where you want to buy. Don't chase markets. It's a tough one in these kind of markets, which are highly expansive, but generally don't chase markets. There will be opportunities for small pullbacks. Entries matter. So a couple of things you're hearing. Entries absolutely matter. I got 10% because I was in under 180 at 179.9s. I got the better part of almost 22% because I didn't chase the market, and I got filled at 0.85 Bitcoins, and we've run through 0.1s. So these are fundamental points. Don't chase. You don't have to buy at market all the time. Check your charts. Check your charts according to the exchange for the values that you need. And Ethereum is broadly looking rather strong. And this pullback is not at all fearsome so far. And in fact, while I was talking, as if almost to prove the point, and we're having a little bit of impulsive pushback there, we could set up another triangle and have further upside. So I hope the Ethereum fans are relatively happy with this. There's way more content going out, I'm afraid, but I've got to serve a premium audience that are looking after me. If you want to find out more, and I don't mean to be selling here, just get in touch on support@themarketsniper. The game is to make money in crypto, and I'm pretty damn committed to that. And we talk a lot about it. I'll be doing my non-farm on June the 2nd, so that's Friday. from the UK with all my guys, and we'll be talking a large part of that on crypto. So we do it mainly because there's a data release, but actually crypto's become probably the most interesting market in town at the moment, with plenty of my continuation HVF setups. That said, we do keep a strong eye on other things where money can be made in terms of trading skills. So I'm a technical trader, and yeah, that's it. I've been a bit rambly tonight because it's late, but I owed you a clip, and I hope you found this useful. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled, and if you want to get in touch about learning more and becoming part of our Basecamp community, where we talk and we share charts and the actual trades that we're taking in place like this, where you can see what we've done with unique clips that are specifically done. Here was us calling Ripple to the downside, by the way, down, down, down after a big run. Lots of information and lots of content in here. Get in touch. And those of you that are interested in just attending for the non-farm, it can actually be bought. Go to eventbrite.co.uk and search for the Market Sniper, and you will see trading day. Easy enough, and I think it's 100 odd bucks, and search for the Market Sniper and you can do that. Otherwise, look forward to chatting with you all again, and forgive me for being a bit long-winded here, but I hope I covered a lot of things of some value with you, and I hope the audio is nice and crisp. So do leave us the comments, they're all appreciated. Did a quick run through on them now. Can't answer every single one at the moment, been away, limited time online. But I do see them, and I will endeavor to answer them in the whole, and I hope this clip goes some way to answering the Ethereum fans. So keep well, and speak soon.